So this is the HP Spectre X360. This was announced late fall of last year, but we just got the review units now, and I still think it's worth a look because HP makes some of the nicest looking convertibles on the market. Now the Spectre lineup is a lot more expensive than the Envy lineup. This is their premium convertible brand, or their premium lineup of laptops, and look, it's a classy looking piece. You know, they still have that kind of like gold accents with either a black or blue chassis, depending on which color you prefer. It's still cut in certain aspects, like the corners, but instead of being super duper cut, they've kind of rounded out the edges to give it more of a smooth look. It's about 4.4 pounds, so it's not super heavy, but it's light enough that you could literally travel with it. And yes, this does pick up fingerprints. I mean, it's black, right? Not as bad as the older Razer blades, but it's still a black laptop. It's gonna pick up fingerprints. Now, opening it up is easy. You can do it with one hand. The hinge is a little bit wobbly, which is normal for a convertible, just because it has to flip, you know, all the way around, and so it's not gonna be perfectly stiff. But I love this keyboard. It feels so comfortable to type on. Like, if you're buying this for productivity, you're gonna love typing on this thing. There's good travel distance, a little bit of keyboard flex, but not a lot to complain about. On the previous model, they had a massive vent on the top. They got rid of that and they redesigned it, and they put these speaker grills on the left and right hand side. When you close it, there's a tiny little gap. So yes, it's a little bit more flexible on the lid, but I kind of like this because if you ever dock your laptop, it gives more room for air to flow, which I always think is a good thing. Now, this touchpad is using Windows Precision Driver. It is very accurate to use, and it feels fantastic. It's right in the middle, so the symmetry is great. You do have a fingerprint scanner to log you in, or you can use the webcam at the top if you want to use facial recognition. Now, the most important thing I've noticed, and you guys know I keep up with the latest sticker trends on laptops these days, and there's a war going on in the background, okay? This is a very male-dominant business, and as you can see here, Intel has increased the sticker size of their i7 sticker. In fact, it's right above the NVIDIA sticker. This is a power move, huge power move on Intel's part. In fact, whoever is the sticker guy for NVIDIA didn't do a good job here, okay? He cut it a bit too skinny, which makes me think Intel is paying off the NVIDIA sticker guy. As for the webcam, this is a good one. They've increased it from a 2 megapixel to a 5 megapixel. As you can see at the top, it supports Windows Hello, but there's a lot of features packed into this. Like, if you're gonna be buying this and doing a lot of conference calls, you're gonna like it. You know, not only has the quality been upped, but HP also has a new piece of software in their command center called the Glam Cam. And this can adjust certain features like your beauty mode. You can have it auto follow you. There's like different mechanisms for when you walk away from the computer, it will automatically lock. Or if it still senses that you're there, and let's say you turn your head to talk to someone else, let's say someone's looking over your shoulder, the screen will kind of dim so that they can't see the information that's on it. Personally, I think these are all great features. I will say though that their auto reframe, which follows your face around when you're not directly in the center, it's not as quick as Apple's, but I like the fact that a lot of PC laptops are starting to implement this. Now, since we're talking about the display, no matter which model you buy, it starts with a 3K display. This one's the UHD Plus display, and it happens to be OLED, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Like, I love watching content on this thing. I just love this screen. The blacks are so perfect. And if you're doing any sort of design work, the color accuracy and gamut is fantastic. It's not as bright as, let's say, a mini LCD display that you'd find on a MacBook Pro, but it still gets bright enough. OLEDs tend to have a tougher time getting brighter, but they do a much better job on those blacks. Now, one other thing about this display is there's a lot of reflection just because it's a glass panel, so you're gonna notice that if you're in a very bright room, but it does come with HP's MPP 2.0 pen in the box. So if you buy a retail unit, this guy is going to be in the box. It's a great pen, and they've included a little magnet on the right side of the display. It's super strong, like this is not gonna fall off if you're moving the display up and down. It'll stay there nice and securely, but it doesn't charge wirelessly. If you wanna charge this thing, you have to open the port that's on the side of the pen, and you can charge it via USB Type-C. Now, the overall drawing experience is good, right? Like, it's not gonna have very low latency like you would on an iPad Pro, since it does have a 120 hertz display. This is 60 hertz, so I think it's a fantastic pen if you're doing a lot of note-taking. Like, it feels nice and smooth. You can draw on it, and it's very good to draw with, but it doesn't have that same accuracy as a high refresh display and a pen optimized for. Now the speakers are pretty good. There's 4 of them in here and they get quite loud, very nice highs, pretty good mids. The only thing I found was that the low end got quite muddy at max volume. So you can hear the bass kind of muddying out if you have this thing at full blast. Now the performance on this is pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's good enough depending on what you're doing. It is using last year's i7 11390H with 16 gigabytes of RAM. It does have a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD and of course that UHD Plus OLED display. Now this specific model is the most expensive one. It does cost over $2,000, but the entry-level model starts at $1,499. You don't get the RTX 3050, but you do get a 3K display. Now performance is very, very similar to the previous 15-inch model because if you guys don't remember, that model came with a 10750H processor which had 6 cores. And yes, it's technically faster in some situations than the previous one, but it's not a massive upgrade in terms of overall performance. Single core clock speeds, multi-core clock speeds are exactly in line with this type of processor, which is 35 watts, but at the end of the day, it's still only 4 cores. If you're buying this for editing video, it can do it, but I wouldn't buy this strictly for editing video. Like there's much better laptops that will give you a better experience for this price point. It's just a kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none. Like it can do some video work, maybe not at production level, but it can handle it. It can obviously handle Photoshop with no problems. And it's okay for developing, a little slow when it's compiling Mozilla Firefox, but it can do it. One thing that really impressed me though was the heat management. Like it runs very cool. On performance mode, it does hit a little bit over 40 decibels, but these fans are usually not loud at all. That's probably why they went with a 35 watt processor instead of another H series. And if you change the profile from, let's say, performance to their Sense AI mode, it will keep fan noise below 40 decibels. Now I was going to open up the laptop, but there's no point since the RAM is soldered onto the motherboard. You can't upgrade it. What you buy with it is what you get. The only thing that can be swapped out is the NVMe SSD if you want something bigger or different down the road. Now this battery is 83 watt hours and I got 7 hours and 50 minutes before needing to charge. That's really good considering there's an H series processor inside of here, so all day battery life is on the table. Honestly, I really love this design. The 16:10 display, the OLED, the colors, it performs very well. It's not like the perfect replacement for a video editor, but if you're someone who's kind of dabbling into everything, this should be enough performance for that type of stuff. But I think it's also just a good sidekick to a desktop. Like if you need to travel, this has enough power to get you through your tasks, but when you're back at home, like you can flip this in tablet mode, pull out the pen, load up HP's Duet software, and then use the display as a Wacom tablet. If you're interested in picking this up, there'll be a link in the description down below. If you have any questions, let me know too. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.